marching side by side, marching across these fields where a million fascists died. You're bound to lose, you damn fascist. Are bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. Race hatred cannot stop us. This thing I know. Your poll tax and Jim Crow greed have got to go. You're bound to lose. You damn fascists. You're bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. You bound to lose. You bound to lose. Bound to lose. I'm going into this battle. Take my Union gun. We'll end this world of slavery before this battle's won. You're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. Yes, sir. All you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. I said. All you fascists bound
Hello.
Welcome to Antifascist Fridays with Ashera. We're glad you could be here tonight. Tonight we'll be talking about unions and how important they are in the fight against fascism.
Yeah.
And I have a guest, and we're going to sing a couple songs for you to get started. These songs come from the Big Red Book.
Big Red Songbook.
The Big Red Songbook.
Wallabies.
Which is a collection of union songs. We don't always know the tunes, so we make that part up, but we do have the lyrics. So the first song we're going to be singing tonight is Dump the Bosses Off Your Back. And these words were written by John Brill.
Dump the bosses off our backs. Like a long-haired jack, don't you buck like thunder, dump the bosses off your back. All the agonies end with one good whack. It's time to organize, dump the bosses off your backs.
Our backs.
Our backs. It's time to organize, dump the bosses off our backs.
Righteous. That's a good song. I could have used that song a time or two. I could have gotten a couple bosses off my back.
Yeah, I mean, all bosses
They're all on our backs.
are
No good
bad
bosses.
No good bosses. Eat your boss.
Eat your boss.
Eat your boss.
Yes.
Fire your boss.
And unions can help you eat your boss.
They can. Many recipes. Many recipes. All right, so let's do another one before we go to our guest. This one is called Banks of Marble. Also, what?
Want to go see if it's still filming?
Oh, yeah, sure, you might as well, because we've had so many problems.
Okay, you're still there.
Yay. So this one's called Banks of Marble, also from the Big Red Songbook. Yeah.
Justin's going to sing this one solo,
Yeah.
because I couldn't find a part.
A likely excuse. I saw the poor dirt farmer. I went sodden low. I heard the auction hammer knocking down his home. I saw a sailor standing idly by the shore. I heard the bosses saying, got no work for you no more. Banks are made of marble, out at every door. Vaults are full of silver that the farmer sweated for. I saw the worn-out miner scrubbing coal dust from their backs. I heard their children crying, got no coal to heat these shacks. I saw the women working, sweatshop and in the store. The office and the factory, at home they still scrub the floor. Banks are made of marble, guard at every door. The vaults are full of silver, mother filed for. I saw my mother working from dawn to setting sun. I heard her saying softly, son, my work is never done. I see all the workers all throughout the land. We will fight together as one big union brand. We'll own those banks of marble, we'll open every door. We'll share those vaults of silver we all fought for. Share those vaults of silver we all fought together for.
Pretty intense stuff.
Made it through it.
You got through it.
And that's what matters.
That's what matters. Yeah, that those words are intense, and they tell the story that is still relevant.
Yeah, I'm not sure when this song was written. I mean, these Big Red Songbook and Little Red Songbook songs go back to the really early 1900s, but
Wow.
and span the whole century. So I mean, could have been written 100 years ago. Could have been written
Yesterday.
30 years ago. Yeah, yesterday.
But I mean, relevance-wise, it could have been written yesterday.
Yeah.
That's what's so
Right, for sure.
interesting
Yeah.
about fascism
And capitalism.
and capitalism.
But yeah. Well, so we've got a guest
That's
to join us and keep talking with us about unions. Our guest, his name's Ira Erbs, and he is a retired public school teacher. He's currently a part-time community college professor, a union member for 35 years, and currently serves as the vice president for the Portland Community College Federation Federation of Faculty and Academic Professionals. Sorry about that. Vice President for the Portland Community College Federation of Faculty and Academic Professionals. That is a mouthful.
That's a lot.
PCCFFAP. All right, and he's also the Vice President at Large for the American Federation of Teachers, Oregon. Ira's a child of Holocaust survivors and is a lifelong anti-fascist. We're really excited to have him on the
And a
show.
good friend.
Yeah, good friend also, him and his wife. So let's go to that conversation now.
Hey, Ira. So we're so happy you're here today to
welcome.
talk with us.
Thank you.
You're a teacher, you're a union member, and so there's been renewed interest in unions, and especially amongst young people.
Yes,
but that
wonderful.
renewed interest comes at a time when union membership is, at a low, and well, since like the 1800s, early 1900s. So there may be people watching who aren't familiar with unions. On a basic level, what are unions, and why do you believe that they are so important?
Well, I think right now more than ever, people are understanding that they're very vulnerable in their workplace.
Right.
That Oregon is an at-will state, meaning that your employer can decide they don't like the shirt you're wearing that day and you're gone. If you were a union member, they could decide that all they want, but that's not a valid reason to fire you. So there are strict rules that enable you to know what are the limits. What can I do at work that's a protected activity, and what can I do at work that leaves me vulnerable to discipline and possibly being fired. So one of the other great advantages of being in a union is that you have an idea of what you're going to be making. So you know what your hourly rate's going to be. You know that next year your hourly rate's going to go up to something.
Right.
You have an idea of what the people around you are making. So,
Right.
It's not the boss saying, don't discuss how much
Right.
you're making with the people you work with. That's a taboo. Well, yeah, it's a taboo that benefits the boss. I know people that have been working places for a number of years and somebody new gets hired and they're making more money than them. So,
I, in my, my day job as a software engineer, I have never had a union, never been even close to having a union or being in part, I don't know of any that are really out there available to me. And so I've always just had to it's like you're on your own. You don't even get employment really in my industry. You have to it's all contracting.
right.
And so when Justin started doing union work and I started to just overhear things and understand what all the little, the little terms that you have for things like grievances, and I've learned what these things are as a complete know nothing about unions type of person. And I started thinking about how these things would change and impact my own work. Or in the environment, if I were to ever start a business where I hired people, and how that could be helpful, could be helpful to me as a business owner. It's I think a lot of times people forget that there's something in it for the other side.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Is that something that you can talk about?
Sure, especially in skills and trades areas. If you are hiring somebody who is gone through an apprenticeship program, let's say a union electrician, union carpenter, you know that they have a certified set of skills.
Right.
So from a hiring side, you know that this person's skill sets have been vetted.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wonder, well, what do they know? Well, I can look at the programs that provide them with their union training and say, okay, yeah, they all know this.
Right.
Another reasons I think is that you tend to find people that are dedicated to their careers.
Right. Yeah.
They
bought into it, and by the sense that they're now a union member and they're paying their dues and they're involved. Yeah, I can see that.
Right. Yeah.
So they care a lot about what they do.
Right. From the owner side, I can see value. I can also understand that owners are saying, well, yeah, but then I can't, underpay them, and I probably have to provide them some benefits. And I understand that all that is expensive, no doubt. But I think we've all had the experience of going into some business or hiring someone to do something for you and discover that they were immensely incompetent. And that really reflected poorly on the company.
Yeah. And it's costly, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Right, for sure. Well, and I think you mentioned at will employment and how union members don't have to worry about being fired at will. And I think that's really one of the more important things about unions, is that, in a court of law, for example, you have due process. And it's a very important principle in the democracies that we have, for whatever those are worth. This idea of due process. But then when we go to work, we don't have anything like that unless you're in a union. Then then the contract, right, that you have, the labor contract, affords you that due process.
It's not to say that being a union member gives you carte blanche.
No, not at all.
You
get fired still.
Yeah. I mean, it just requires your boss to do due diligence.
Yep.
To document and process. They can't just, like I say, walk in one day and go, "Oh, you're out of here."
Yeah, exactly.
And that happened to me, like literally like that. One day I was out of there with no warning, no like process of discipline, nothing, out of the blue. And I had 2 kids and a family to support and a mortgage to pay. And it was just like the most terrifying. Honestly, it was very traumatic. Like, I'm still not over it. I don't think I'll ever. It was just the shock of the moment of suddenly, literally, that like rug is just ripped right out.
Especially when it comes with no warning. I mean, that's just,
oh my gosh, it was such a cruelty to do to anyone. Just on that level, like, how cruel can you be, especially with when you think that person, when you don't know there's any problems.
Right. No warning at all.
Yeah. So
to kind of give a more recency of an example, I have friends that work at Kaiser, and when the COVID thing hit, their manager basically came in and said, "If you are not in a represented position, you're going home."
Wow.
And I really can't think of anything that more strongly demonstrates the power of being a union member.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
So anyone who was not a union member was sent home.
Yeah. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Well, and so, this show is about anti-fascism, and there's a ton to talk about when it comes to unions and fascism and anti-fascism.
Right. Yeah, they're all definitely interrelated.
Yeah, right.
Unions by nature are anti-fascist.
I think so. I mean, I guess how any one union might react in the moment, in the historical moment, is up in the air. But generally, whenever fascists have come to power, they're pretty quick in moving to eliminate like real independent working class labor unions.
Right.
After so like Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, all after they come to power, they all start banning unions, jailing unionists, having them killed. So why do you think that unions are such a threat to fascism? And I guess, like, what does that say about what role unions can play in fighting fascism now in the 21st century?
I think it's kind of important to define terms, because the people that control the narrative are doing so to their advantage. I mean, I was just reading an article from some right-wing groups cascading Biden as being a socialist. I mean, if Joe Biden's a socialist, I can fly.
That's cute.
That's hilarious.
And Obama was a socialist, and Kate Brown, our governor of Oregon, is a socialist. No, they're just all people that
Ted
oppose
Wheeler's
fascism.
An anarchist, right?
Yeah. I don't know about Ted Wheeler opposing fascism, but the other group in the group, oppose fascism. And the issue, so historically, fascism is a command economy that allows private ownership, as opposed to communism, which is a command economy that allows for public ownership of the means of production. And so, the famous quote from Pastor Nehemiah actually starts with, "First they came for the communists." But that's been removed from the poem.
It's true.
And one of the reasons that they go after the trade unionists and the communists is because we're organized. We have the ability to get out thought. We have the ability to arrange, hundreds and hundreds of people to show up in the streets.
That's huge.
We are looking for the workers having input on their working conditions, on their material conditions of their lives. Fascists want the profits to go to a select few. and then the government benefits from their wealth.
I mean, yeah, by very nature of like a corporation is a fascist organization. Like if you use that definition,
Right.
then
They're
it
certainly very
is. And so
authoritarian,
you
yeah.
could think of any business could be fascist. And a lot of
Of
them
course,
are.
I mean, that's human nature. You know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a functioning part of who we are as human beings.
Yeah. So like
You know?
unions are absolutely anti-fascist and by definition, I would think.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
go ahead, sorry.
well, I'm just saying right now within the union movement, there's a strong authoritarian fascist bent because right now they are being gifted. They are being given the treats in the short run for the support. So a lot of the law and order kind of flag waving demagoguery that's being sent around. You know, I'm on the Northwest Oregon Labor Council, and so I try to promote more leftist, honestly, perspectives. I try to get at least conversations going. And there's a lot of folks that are like, oh no, you know, we have good paying jobs provided by those people. We need to support them. And it's like, well, your good paying jobs are killing the planet.
You're right.
Right.
Possibly support someone that can provide good paying jobs that benefit your children, my children, grandchildren. But we've become a society of short term gain.
Yeah.
And so as long as I'm making it right now, you know, fuck everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I want my health care to come from my union because my union is getting me great health care as part of my bargaining.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
they didn't have to bargain health care, and all that money was used to improve your pay.
Yeah, or your other benefits,
Yeah.
regardless of what they are.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you know, I mean, the threat that fascism and fascists pose to unions isn't just historical, right? I mean, there's a whole fascist movement has sprung up and is continuing to grow now in various forms. And last year in Portland itself, you know, we saw acts of vandalism against Cider Riot, which is a local bar that existed that a lot of unionists frequented. And also the IWW hall itself in Portland, just up the road from Cider Riot, were vandalized, windows broken, all while Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys, you know, local fascist groups, were simultaneously targeting both of those buildings for protests. So given that we know that fascists will still target and attack unionists, union halls, a century after their sort of forebears, what can unions do today? I mean, you already sort of mentioned the union's ability to like get boots on the ground and things like that, but I mean, what do you really see as an important role for unions to play today in fighting this growing fascism that's taking place?
Well, I think the very structure of not being out there alone. You know, last May when we had the initial confrontation at Terry Shrunk Plaza in downtown Portland, there was a contingency of trade unionists out protesting. There were the pro-clutching liberals that were out protesting. There were self-described anti-fascists that were protesting. And I was there right at the very beginning of the confrontations before the police showed up. And, you know, we're yelling at the fascists and they're yelling back at us and, you know, waving fists and you know, it was fine. And then the cops showed up, put their backs to the fascists, faced the anti-fascists, and then agitated the situation to where they in their mind could justify firing rubber bullets and tear gas, a showdown that we see nightly now.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it's clear whose side they're on.
Right, and but the value of organizing is, first of all, you know you're not alone.
Yeah.
So realizing that there are others out there that share your concerns has value.
Right.
There's value, you know, I'm 65 years old. I'm not in the best physical health. I would love to be downtown in the streets raising 6 kinds of hell. It would be a really dumb thing for me to do.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's
So
toxic.
So I
It
can
is.
materially support the
Yeah.
groups that are doing so.
Yeah.
You know, by donating water, donating PPE, donating money,
Right.
getting the word out that these events are taking place. And the events I'm talking about are peaceful, First Amendment, constitutionally protected
Yep.
public displays of dissatisfaction.
Yep.
Um,
Airing of grievances.
Airing of grievances, yeah.
yeah, airing your grievances in the public square.
Exactly.
Yeah, and all that other stuff, all that stuff is important, right? I mean, there's that, you know, these movements. I mean, and that's where the organization, like you're talking about, where that's so important and comes in, because these things, especially if they're going to be sustained in the long term, right? Like what's happening in Portland, going on 3 months now of just day after day after day. Like you need organization beyond just like that spark and spontaneity of the moment to really sustain it and keep people alive and healthy and refreshed and fighting, right?
Yeah. Right.
So that's vital. Well, one more. We're almost out of time, but do you want to ask the last question? We've got one more that we'd like to ask.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So, well, part of what our show is all about is normalizing anti-fascism in the U.S. and also creating culture around anti-fascism. And what we're centering is music, and because it is a huge aspect of culture, we identify it with that quite a bit. I know lots and lots of people do, and so we play music on every episode. But there's so many more important things to all come together to make up cultures, from dance to food, spirituality, religion, literature, theater, to be all of that. So what is a component of culture that you think is important to build specifically around anti-fascism in the U.S.? If you could.
I think calling out the gradualness of fascist governments, where they don't, Hitler didn't start murdering people. First he started rounding up all of the societally identified undesirables.
Right.
Okay. So, I could be okay. Let's say I could be okay with, people crashing my border being put in cages. Yeah, that's reprehensible, but, those people are doing terrible things to us. Okay. Again, I'm not speaking for myself. Okay. But the gradualness, it's, the analogy of the frog in boiling water. Maybe I can share that for folks who don't know that. If you take a frog and throw it into a pot of boiling water, they're going to jump out. You put a frog in a pot of cool water and gradually turn up the heat, you'll get a boiled frog.
Yeah.
And
it won't jump out.
It won't jump out. It'll just be incrementally, the water will be getting hotter and hotter, and you'll reach, okay, I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Oh,
that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And so that's the appropriate analogy for what fascist governments do.
Yeah,
and if you pay attention to the last 3 years, we as a society are being daily confronted with atrocities and then normalizing them.
Yeah. Right.
And so the role of any organized group is to call that out and say, hey, wait a minute, don't get comfortable with that, because they're coming for you. You don't, maybe right now things are okay. Yes, they're bad for other people. But what is it that makes you think that it's not coming your way, that the water isn't being turned up?
Yeah.
And so that communication system,
ability
networking. To network. It's that networking that helps people come out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and those networks are always an important part of any culture, right? Those communication networks, right? I mean, that's how we transmit, whether it's culture or like hey, the tanks are rolling down the street, get your guns and, protect yourself, kind of, whatever the message is, right?
Yeah, close your windows. They're about to fire tear gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness for social media. It came around right at the right time.
Right.
It's an really
when you think about the order of events.
Look at the power of Woody Guthrie.
Oh, yeah.
His music was instrumental in educating people about those issues that people were slowly being made comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's
So music is like the playing, and while the frog is getting boiled, we're hoping that the music kind
loud
of
enough.
says, "Hey,
Yeah.
you're on fire," you know.
Yeah. Put a thermometer in there and check what's going on.
Right.
You know?
It does work that way because it enters a different channel in the brain than other
Right.
sources of input. Music lights up your whole brain. So
Right.
it makes sense that music would be like an incredibly powerful transmuter of ideas and messages.
Yeah. I think literature.
Yeah.
And even like journalism and stuff like that for, kind of for similar reasons.
Yeah, but the value of music, I mean, that's why the troubadours existed.
Yeah.
I mean, the value of music is that you don't have to have any level of literacy
Right.
in order to be presented with provocative thought.
Yeah.
Right.
And feelings and emotion too. I mean, it's what.
And the music opens you up to become receptive.
Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
Right.
And that's why the right wing uses music heavily.
Yes.
They're doing it. They're using the same tools to promote what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Well, we're out of time, but it's been a lot of fun talking with you. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you all do.
Oh yeah, and you too, always. I'm sure we appreciate you too, and I'm sure we'll be in touch and we'll talk with you soon.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one, Ira.
Bye, Ira.
All right, you too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, welcome back. That was a great conversation. I don't think it can be overstated how important unions are for not only workers' rights but also as a vehicle for bringing democracy into the workplace. And Ira talked also about their importance in terms of communication apparatus and organizational structure, and how important those things are for the struggle against fascism. And so I think it's also something that can't be overstated that rebuilding, strengthening the power of unions is a vital part of rebuilding and strengthening and creating a culture of anti-fascism. With that, thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.